So I went into a store, bought a 911 Turbo S, red interior, red exterior, and I start driving the turbo. And you pull up at any club, and every girl will look at you. You don't need to talk to anybody. You can go up to the girl and say, "Would you like to come with me?" And she just come. The weird thing is, I've never in my whole life approached a woman till today. And so I never learned that. So right now, Derek, I have still the same problem you have, I guess, or not you have, but had as a kid, or pickup artists had, or wanted to have, or not wanted to have had, which is that which is that I'm obviously scared of rejection, right? So I've never approached any woman in my whole life because of that reason. But instead, I think I didn't develop something as potent as what Chris did, and because maybe mine worked quicker. But what I sort of realized on my own was subconsciously was this: women would recognize who they would. Okay, this is going to be very sexist, guys, and I'm not sexist. I'm married. I love my wife. My wife is pregnant with a daughter. I love women. I'm just explaining this for the 18-year-old guys that may be insecure, 17-year-old guys that are insecure, that want to be confident with a woman. So from that perspective, I'm gonna be a little bit like I'm gonna stereotype women a little bit. So generally, what I noticed was this: women would sense when you go out in a group with your male friends or even with your female friends what your power position was in that group. If your male friends looked up to you, they sense that. You could be as ugly as me. I'm not a good looking fellow. And you stand there and your friends respect you. You lead. You tell people where we're going to go, what we're going to do. People sense that. They're drawn to that. If you are happy, if you're enjoying yourself, you're having a good time, people are drawn to that. They come to you. They float to you. If you're powerful, that is the greatest aphrodisiac of all. And now power, when you get a little bit older, not when you're 17, 18. When I was 17, 18, power used to be like, because it was back in the day, it used to be like muscle. Girls liked muscle. That in Derek's time, I think that was already dead a little bit, but maybe not totally. But now it's in California, it's dead. But power, when you get over, say 20, 22, once girls graduate from college, power is money. They see money. So that's what power is. And power can also be other things also. So, and also they look at how women treat you. So for example, for me, once I got it, even in college, once I got into a very good school, by the third year, girls started to realize I was going somewhere with my life. I couldn't get girls off me. It was hard. At Carnegie Mellon, I remember I used to be a nerd. I mean, I wouldn't leave my house. I had this girl. Once I did a project with a girl in the project. Like we had a project together. She wouldn't leave me alone. She would call me every week, drunk, trying to get into my apartment, and I would never let her because I was like a eunuch. The whole 2 years I did nothing. I just studied. I wouldn't see anyone. But I would go back to Dubai and bang everyone for like 3 weeks, and then go back and study. No, that's what I would do. I would hook them up every 6 months. They would be all organized, and then I'd go there, bang everybody, and then go back. So
Swipe.
and but the thing is, then when I graduated from college, and I was poor all of college. I used to take the bus. In grad school, I used to work 2 jobs. I lived outside London, so I wanted to do a PhD, but I wanted money, and at the time my mother had cancer and stuff, so I really wanted to get a high-paying job. So I got a private job in private equity. I got a job in private equity in Abu Dhabi. My salary was really high. First 6 months, I saved the whole thing. I lived like I paid nothing. I was so stingy because I was poor for so long. Then I accumulated a lot of money. So what did I do? 6 months later, I was like, damn, I'm not accumulating enough money to be building an empire or anything. I'm just making a lot of money. So I went into a store, bought a 911 Turbo S, red interior, red exterior, and I start driving the turbo. And you pull up at any club, and every girl will look at you. You don't need to talk to anybody. You can go up to the girl and say, "Would you like to come with me?" And she'll just come. So all I'm trying to say to you guys is, instead of looking just at your insecurities, if you build your own happiness, I'm not pro materialism. I think the girls you'll get from your 911 Turbo S will be not the girls you want, by the way, and they weren't. They were actually girls that can break your heart and really harm you and really, but if you build your own happiness and build yourself up and you're happy and you're confident and you're strong, they'll come to you. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree on everything.
I agree with a lot of this stuff, but the coming to you thing, I don't agree with like at all. You know,
no, it's not a good idea. It's
in the
a scared
Western
idea.
world,
Yeah,
in the Western world, unless you're like famous and the girls are DMing you, because that's sort of their pussy way of approaching guys now. If you're just out and about, girls are not going to.
No, I'm saying with Tinder. Sorry, with Tinder. I'm saying no. I'm considering Tinder because in Dubai I never approached a girl, but in the U.S. when I've lived here for 6 years, 7 years or so in a row, before I met Lucy, I was on Tinder and I was damn successful. Like, so I dated one of the most beautiful girls for sure in LA. She's a Ukrainian oligarch's daughter, billionaire. Unbelievable woman. I dated for a year and a half before. Every guy I ever went to would like be staring at her. What's she doing with this guy? Everywhere. And that was off Tinder. I had 6,000 matches before I closed my Tinder. One of the things I help with my clients is actually to tell them how to deal with Tinder, how to optimize their profile, how to respond to them, and then the most important thing is to try to narrow them down. I think nobody should even approach people in person anymore with Tinder and other apps there, because you can get volume and then save time. Most of the girls are already there.
It's definitely more efficient. And I agree that if you have good enough pictures and a good enough profile, then you can leverage your time and just, use that. But in addition, I think developing character through being able to approach people in real life is definitely underrated. And it's more guys lean on social media apps because they have no personality and or haven't developed anything through throwing themselves into the fire. They become way too handicapped by only being on social media apps and shit. And then if a guy like me is able to walk up to some chick in real life, I'm the only guy out of like 1,000 people who's even has the balls to talk to her in real life. So it's an easy way to set yourself apart now. I'm not saying you need to do it. From a time efficiency standpoint, online dating makes so much sense, but no guys are able to talk to girls now. And if you're one of those guys who's in the 90% that is going to get no results online, you need to be able to talk to girls, because it's going to be the 10% top guys online who are getting all the chicks.
But what the weird thing is, like with most of the women nowadays, because they go through these apps. No, not. But they're also shy. They're incredibly shy and anxious. So when you go talk with them, they stumble over their own words. Whereas, where I come from, I never used these Tinder apps or did online dating. I just went out and went talk to people. And as you do that more often, you get better, and then you find out things that work a little bit, like dressing well or looking like money, or you might have to show that you pretend that you have a little bit more money than you actually have, until you get them to your place and then they see what your condo is really like. But yeah, when you're younger, you don't have so much money, right? And so I've been with my wife for 8 years, so I never got on Tinder. I met my wife in the good old fashioned way in the gym. And that's, then social presence and social dynamics, how you compare to other men, that dynamic really plays into part, like what Leo mentioned, is how your ranking amongst the other men, your financial security and your looks, of course, that highly contributes, to how you can approach girls. But I never went online, even, to start messaging girls on MySpace or High Five or
no, that
Facebook.
was different.
That was different. Did that.
Yeah. Because back then it was different. The people that would go to those apps were people who selectively, they were like people who were having issues. So now it's not the case everywhere in the world. Like in Dubai, Tinder sucks. Like it's weird there. But here and in London, for example, I know, and I assume in Canada also. But I have a lot of points about what you said, Derek. I have a lot of but number one. So what I meant before was this. I meant like I would go to parties, or I would go to clubs, or I would go, or my friends would approach me. It wasn't that I would go to a bar and a girl would walk across the bar and come to me. No, those are weird. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like friends would come out with us. I would meet a girl, like some guys would bring girls out, and every single time the girls would come to me. Like all my friends were better looking than me. Everyone was. Every single time we went out, sometimes their girlfriends would try to sleep with me. That would always happen to me, dude, for years in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And then, but there's more things. So, and then also I wanted to you have a comment on that one?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, that sounds great. And I'm sure all of us would love to be in that situation, but 99% of us, that's never going to happen for us. So you need to be able to go up to chicks and talk to them.
That might be true, but I feel like if someone, like another thing that I didn't mention is also like ability to speak about subjects you're passionate about, that you're intelligent about. Like if you have nothing to say, dude, no chick wants to be with a guy that doesn't have a brain, has nothing to say. But if you're passionate about your life, about something that you have to talk about. You know, it's a lot of elements to it. Another thing is, we were talking earlier about like sort of just banging chicks. We weren't, so I mentioned like the chicks that you'll get from the Porsche won't be the chicks you want to marry. But if you just want to bang chicks, that's the fastest way, dude. You could just wait till you finish college, go to Goldman Sachs, like a lot of my friends did from undergrad, 175,000 started salary. You'll bang every chick on. You go to New York, you can finish it all. You don't need to do it in college.
All of your situations are like top 1% guys that are earners and stuff. Like, no, dude, even when I was 21, 22, I had like $100 in my bank account, could barely afford the fucking testosterone I was using, was going on dates that cost $5. That's what I was doing at 21, 22. And that's when I got it all out of my system. And there's no way, if you made me wait till like 24, 25 to afford a Porsche, it would have never happened, dude. So I think this is like, maybe where you live, it's a bit different, where you in Dubai, but Western, Western
my friends in New York were like that too, because my like cohort from Carnegie Mellon, like a lot of them went to investment banking, and those guys were doing the same thing I was.
It would mentally fuck you up to skip your early 20s though, trying to get rich, and then try and relive it in your late 20s, early 30s once you've accumulated the wealth.
That's what I did. That's what I did, and that screws you up and helps you in some ways. So my friends who were frat guys in college, partied all the time, slept with all the girls, their jobs suck. And their careers were really bad in their 20s. For me, I got 4.0 the last 2 years of Carnegie Mellon. 4.0. Never got below 100%, like A. We don't have A pluses there. So I had no life. I was a nerd, loser, like weird, by myself. Graduated. Went to grad school, then got a job, and then partied. So I didn't do great in my job. I quit my job after 2.5 years. I wasn't interested, but I had a lot more fun than they did in undergrad, I think. I'm not sure though. It's a different lifestyle because in undergrad.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I think you still need to get this phase out of your system before you settle down and get married. Because if you don't do that, and then you get married, and then you start to make good money, that's where all the infidelity is coming from in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Because a lot of guys don't have game, they don't have money, they don't talk with chicks, and they go through that phase where you get so jaded that you don't even want to think about women anymore because you're so over it. And then you meet the love of your life, But a lot of guys, they don't go through this period. And then they get financially successful, let's say their late 30s, 40s, 50s. And then like, oh, man, I got to catch up. And I see that happen in Thailand all the time. These guys come here, they're loaded with money, but they have no game because they never learned it. And they got married along the way. But they're, now they're like, oh, I have money, I can do whatever I want. And I finally have that power and social status, a social hierarchy.
And they want to relive the youth they didn't have, and then they start cheating on their wife and doing all the shit. So this is why I would argue the guys who become like man whores in their early 20s, you might look at them, down on them, like, oh, look at this guy, he's just like doesn't give a shit about anything, he's just like this he's so disrespectful of women and blah blah blah. But I think you're developing the mental state to be able to tolerate all the stuff in later life, and then actually be able to set yourself up for an emotionally healthy relationship. How contradictory that sounds, I understand, but to me, that's how I perceived it.
100%. And you need to go through that period where you're just so tired of women that you're not even open to the idea of a relationship. And then you find a person that you can actually build a friendship up with first and get to know. And then over 6 months or whatever period you take to get to know this person, like, you know what? I can see myself with this girl.
So I've never started a relationship through a friendship ever.
Personally. Yeah.
I'm not really friends with chicks at all, to be honest. Like, I'll talk.
I wasn't either until I met my wife, but I respect her highly, and it was interesting to talk with her. And then you build that over time, and then after a while, you try your chances, and it's like, hey, let's go for that coffee, Let's go for a coffee.
Okay, I want to write that one down so I didn't forget to comment on it. But we're talking about something so cool. So this is such an interesting. I have ideas about this. So I always felt like. And for me, when I was younger, it's like I had something to prove when I was trying to it was like you're trying to, I know this sounds horrible also and sexist, but it was almost like you felt like you were trying to access something or conquer something. But really what it was is that I was attaching my self-esteem to other women. I don't know why, to women of all things, but I was taking my self-esteem and attaching it to something that I don't believe I deserve, and then hoping I get it or trying to get it. Yeah. And every single time, though, this is the weird part that Derek's talking about, every single time I got it, I got a little bit of that esteem back. And eventually, like when I mentioned that Ukrainian girl who first time I actually, there were two girls that I dated that were just, yeah, it was crazy. One was in Dubai. I swear she's the most beautiful girl in Dubai. And my friends in Dubai, one day they'll find this channel, they don't know about it, they'll agree and comment below. She was notorious. She was crazy. And then the Ukrainian one was crazy too. They were both 1 year long ones. After those, something happened to me inside where I just, a beautiful face could come to me and I'd be like, and like, who are you? Talk to me. You know, it didn't hit me anymore.
Yeah, and I can almost guarantee it, if you met that Ukrainian bombshell or whatever when you had no experience, you would have got devastated. You would have been
not just that,
absolutely destroyed when she left. 100%.
Oh, that's what I mean. Exactly. So no, she didn't leave, by the way. I left her. Yeah. Just to let you know.
But I mean,
no, I'm saying in a good point.
Yeah, go ahead.
But what I was gonna say is exactly your point, which is which was what I was gonna continue with, which is that I could have never learned to be like to really be in a good relationship and a healthy relationship until I internalized my self-esteem. Like now I don't depend. There's never any, I had so many toxic relationships. Toxic relationships happen for me when my self-esteem is in the other person, theirs is in mine, and potentially it can go negative sometimes. With me and Lucy, we both have our self-esteem within each other, and it is truly a selfless love for the other person. And I feel complete with myself, and Lucy just enriches my life so much. But I don't nothing missing within myself. And I always try to tell my clients, like, if you feel complete within your own life, that's the time you'll be healthy to have a good relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of guys do the traditional thing, and they try and most people just, they sleep with like a handful of girls in their whole life. They go from like serial relationship to the next serial relationship over and over, and then they get married, and they often have the regret in the back of their head. And I think you just got to knock that out when you are able to do it with $0 in your bank account. And you can be young and enjoy yourself, and there's no pressure on you to, support a family or do this or that. It's good to just get out of your system, become emotionally secure in the fact that, if you lose a chick, you can get another one as good as her again in a reasonably quick time frame. Nothing really like holds you back from, you're not going to get absolutely devastated if a chick ends up leaving you. This kind of stuff is just like good to build up in terms of becoming emotionally healthy, I think, because otherwise you set yourself up.